Hello, hello, hello. Come on down, folks. Let's get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, folks. Welcome back for day 2 of LinkedIn Leverage. Good to see you. Going to give folks a minute or two to jump in here. David Watts says I look a bit better. Just a brighter shirt, David. I'm trying to fool you with my choice of clothing. But thank you. Feeling a little bit better, marginally better. I got to be honest. Yesterday after the workshop, I took a couple of calls and I felt just drained, but went to the gym, had a good workout. Felt a whole lot better after that. But looking forward to jumping in here with you folks today while we give everybody a minute-ish more to hop on. What I would love to hear is drop your biggest takeaways from yesterday's session in the chat here. Let me know and let your peers know here in the group, and feel free to mark the audience as everybody in the chat so everybody can see your message. Sometimes you might only share that with me, but I'd love for everybody to be able to share with each other. Drop your biggest takeaway from yesterday's conversation, specifically with regards to the 7 keys framework. What was your biggest takeaway? What was your biggest aha moment? What was your biggest learning from that conversation? Go ahead, take a few seconds, drop that in the chat. So I'm seeing power positioning, the sequential triggers of a buying decision, the idea that there's a sequence there. The 7 keys have to be opened in order. Awareness is key. If they don't know who you are, they can't hire you. Solve for a bottleneck before moving on to the next one. The metaphor of the 7 doors, you can't get to the next door without going through the first door. The case for the conversation has to be overwhelming, right? Stranger danger. People don't talk to strangers unless there's a very good reason to do so. The case for a conversation with you has to be overwhelmingly clear. The market doesn't owe you anything. Focus on one of the keys until you master it and then move on to the next. Great to be reminded of the steps instead of taking them for granted. Always a good reminder, right? Sometimes we get lulled into this idea that business comes easy and it should be easy, but there's steps that people have to go through to do business with you. Relevance. Services are bought, not sold. Services are bought, not sold. They make a buying decision before even talking to you. Really powerful, right? How would you like to talk to folks who have made a buying decision? They've already pretty much decided to work with you in some shape or form before they get into a conversation with you. And we're going to talk about how to actually get that done in today's workshop and tomorrow's workshop. This is no easy task. It will take work to reach target market and get results. Absolutely. Resources require context, right? People who ask for pricing should not be entertained, should not be indulged, right? Pricing requires context. Knowing how people buy, so carve the path and not sell. If there's no pain, there's no urgency. The general understanding of you that they have to put you into a box. Vic says the steps were great, although the high priority one left me in confusion because at times we have to nurture them, but also made us think that going after urgent people is a good strategy rather than wasting time with nurturing. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good point, Vic, right? Because not everybody has immediate urgency. The ones who do, they buy now. The ones who don't, you can nurture. But all things considered, wouldn't you rather have people that come to you with a very high degree of urgency? Those are the better leads, right? So now the question becomes, how can we craft messaging that pulls people out at the right time when they have a high degree of urgency? That's the opportunity. Awesome. Great takeaways, folks. You're a fantastic audience. Good for you. I appreciate you engaging. I appreciate you taking all that you've taken away. And I'm looking forward to today's conversation. Couple of housekeeping notes. Number one, today, like yesterday, I would love for you to engage with me in the chat here. When you have questions about the material as we go through it, the best place to put those questions is in the Q&A box. I'll be monitoring both, but I'll be monitoring the Q&A box more closely to make sure I address any specific questions you have about the material that we share today. Okay, that's housekeeping note number one. Housekeeping note number two is there's a lot of confusion about recordings, and some of that is self-inflicted, I understand. Here's the deal with recordings. We will send the recordings of these sessions to the folks that attend all the sessions. The reason why we were very hesitant to make recordings available is because what people do as they buy courses like this, they go, I got the recordings. I'm going to keep them on my hard drive somewhere and I'll get back to them later, and later never comes. And I'm just not interested in selling things to people that they don't use. So we wanted to incentivize you to hop on here live with us, and to reward you for hopping on live here with us. We're going to share the recordings with you if you attended live. Okay. As well, Marjorie, I got you. There are some people on here today who weren't able to attend yesterday because they enrolled after yesterday's workshop. You will also get a recording of yesterday's workshop so you can catch up. Absolutely. And I believe, Marjorie, you're already in touch with somebody from the team, and they're going to be sharing that with you in short order if they haven't already. Cool. Any questions about recordings before I feel like that's like a big topic? Before we move on, is that clear, the recordings deal? You show up, you're gonna get the recordings. Simple. Gerardo, slides? No, not sharing slides, but you'll get them in the recordings. Awesome. Cool. And before we jump in to today's workshop, I'm going to remind you, if you were there, and if you weren't there, I'll tell you for the first time, of an offer I made at the end of yesterday's session, which is for folks who are on this training. We're making a very special offer, one that we've only made in the context of this training, and that is the following. If you want us to guarantee that you will be able to generate 10 B2B consulting opportunities by working with us inside our flagship coaching program called the 90-Day Pipeline, what you can do is grab a call with our team using the link that I just pasted into the chat here. Okay, that will tell the team that you came from this workshop. And if you're interested in the guarantee offer, then they can have the conversation with you about, first of all, whether you qualify, whether we can help you. That's the most important conversation. Can we help you? We're not interested in working with people that we cannot help. Can we help you? Do you qualify for help? And if you're interested in the guarantee offer, what needs to happen for you to get that offer? Okay, if you want to have that conversation, we're only making that offer available to you folks that are here in this room, and it expires end of the month. If you want to take advantage of that offer, learn more about it, how it works, what's involved, go ahead and grab a call with our team. If you book it now, I believe, let's see, there's really only a couple of spots between today and tomorrow. You're likely looking at Friday, even Friday. There's not that much space left. So I'll tell you what, I said end of the month, but if you are not able to find a time before the end of the month, let us know and we'll honor the offer, because clearly our calendar is constrained and that's not your fault, right? But try to get in by Friday, have the conversation. If it's a good fit, we'll talk about next steps. Okay, that's it on that. I'm happy to answer any questions about the program or the offer at the end of today's session, but I'm keen to jump into the meat of why we're here today. Sound good? Awesome. Okay. So, and again, if you weren't here yesterday, if you weren't here yesterday, you wouldn't have heard me talk about how I'm just getting over a bad cold. So apologies for any sniffles or coughs. I will try my best to unmute, or to mute rather, if I feel something coming on, but there's going to be a little bit of that as we go forward here. So today we're jumping into tactics. We're jumping into a very specific strategic framework for generating 10 B2B consulting opportunities every single month on LinkedIn. Now, the thing I want to really highlight here before we jump into the details is that LinkedIn is a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool. It's certainly a very powerful tool if you're selling B2B. It's certainly a tool that you want to master, certainly a tool that you want to understand, but it's just a tool. Okay, it's a hammer. And it's only as good as your ability to leverage the tool. That's why we call it LinkedIn leverage. It's a tool that you can leverage, right? The hammer is not going to save your business. It's your ability to wield the hammer and to point the hammer at a nail, okay? And to swing the hammer back and forth sufficiently until that nail goes into the wall or the painting is hung on the nail. Okay, it's just a tool. So what we're going to share with you today and tomorrow is a strategic framework for you to make the best use of the tool. We're going to show you how to swing the hammer. Okay. But that's going to be less about, beating the LinkedIn algorithm and like the latest LinkedIn hack and, the latest piece of software. I mean, this market is just overwhelmed with hacks. And the old expression is true, hacks are for hacks, right? There is always a new hack. There's always a new tool. There is always a new hashtag. There's always a new this, that. And I am not concerned with hacks. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Inside our coaching programs, we have all kinds of hacks. We have all kinds of shortcuts. We have all kinds of tactics, right? Absolutely. But that's the 20% of the game. The 80% of the game is good, fundamental business and marketing strategy as applied to LinkedIn. So what we're going to show you today, right, is not how to beat the LinkedIn algorithm, right? Or not how to hack LinkedIn. It's how to apply good, sound, fundamental marketing that creates opportunity and turns that into revenue on LinkedIn. It's not about LinkedIn, but it is about LinkedIn. LinkedIn is merely the vehicle through which we're going to do this. Does that make sense? So, quick recap of yesterday. And again, check out the recording for the details here. What we shared with you is a 7-part strategic framework to help you understand how B2B buyers make decisions. Now, that is very important. And if you haven't seen that, this will make more sense to you once you've seen it. Okay, because if we understand how buyers make buying decisions, then we can understand how to sell to them. And the big takeaway from yesterday was professional services are bought, not sold. Consulting services are bought, not sold. Okay. You can't sell anymore. You can't force anymore. You can't back your prospect into a corner and make them buy anymore. They've got to want it. And they're empowered and they have data and they have information and they have resources and they don't need you necessarily. So the question is not how do we sell more services? It's how do we facilitate more buying? And to facilitate more buying, we've got to understand what the buyer's journey looks like. And that is the context within which we share this framework called the 7 keys to a buying decision. Quick recap. Number 1 is awareness. They got to know who you are. If they don't know who you are, can't hire you. For most of you, that is your biggest bottleneck today. Number 2 is understanding. They've got to know what you do. Don't be cute and don't be clever and don't be vague and don't be generic. Be ultra laser specific about what the heck you do and who you do it for. That's probably going to require a very serious conversation and analysis around positioning. Because if your market is too broad, somebody came on yesterday and said their market is small business owners, 10 to 30 employees. That's not meaningful to anybody. I don't mean to, disparage you for asking the question. I appreciate you asking the question, but that is far too broad. Your market has to be specific for it to be meaningful and relevant. That's understanding. 3rd is relevance. How do they know that this is for them? How do they know that they are at the right time, the right juncture? The timing is right for them to engage or have a conversation with somebody like you. How do I know it's for me? Distinction. What makes you unique? What makes you distinct? What makes you stand out from the pack? I'm interested, but why you? There's lots of other consultants, service providers just like you. Why should I work with you? Okay. And then finally, urgency, trust, and resources. The big thing I wanted you to take away from yesterday is not only this framework, but also the fact that marketing has a job and sales has a job. And those are 2 separate functions in an organization, and yours probably both contained within you. Okay. Marketing's job is keys 1 to 4, really simple. If you had a marketing team, their job would be turn those 4 keys and do so at scale. And what you want to do is install a marketing system that turns these 4 keys and serves up leads and opportunities who are pre-sold, ready to buy, maybe already made the buying decision. So you can, in the sales conversation, turn the keys of urgency and trust and resources. That is the very, very, very quick summary of yesterday's conversation. Again, if you weren't there because you joined us a little bit later, we'll get you the recording. You're going to want to catch up on that. Today, want to first start with the math. So we made a big promise to you for this workshop, and we said we're going to show you how to generate 10 B2B consulting opportunities per month like clockwork. And so the first thing I want to do today is show you how that math pans out, and then we'll go over the system. And there's 4 parts to the system. We're going to cover 2 of them today and 2 of them tomorrow. So here's the math. Now, some of this is going to become more clear to you as we proceed today and into tomorrow's workshop. But I want to give you like a bird's eye view. Like, let's just get the numbers down. How do we generate 10 B2B consulting opportunities per month? And by opportunities, I mean calls, I mean conversations, discovery calls with qualified prospects who have the problem that you solve. Okay, so let's go top down here. The way this all starts is with a connection request. Okay, that's where the relationship starts. Now, I'm not considering here the fact that you may very well have a whole bunch of already qualified first-degree LinkedIn connections in your network, which is just icing on the cake. Those are low-hanging fruit. But I'm going to assume that you don't have those. Okay, if you do, great. If you don't, no big deal. It all begins with a LinkedIn connection request. And LinkedIn, this may or may not be known to you, but LinkedIn recently made a major change to their platform where they restricted the amount of outreach you could do to new connections. It used to be something to the tune of 2,000 connection requests is what you could send on a monthly basis. Now it's 400 or 100 per week. Okay. So that's had a number of implications, which we're going to talk about. One of them is that acceptance rates have gone up. Because there's less people sending connection requests, right? Because the spammers that we talked about yesterday have gone away. They've given up, right? There's less noise. There's less spam in the inbox. There's less unwanted connection requests. And so acceptance rates have gone up. So what we're seeing among our clients is that now a 25% acceptance rate is actually very realizable, whereas that was a high bar in the past. So what we have here is, first of all, connections. If we're sending 400 per month, we can reasonably expect 100 new connections coming into our LinkedIn network on a monthly basis. This is awareness. I don't know who you were. Now I have 100 new prospects. Now they've got to be the right people. We're going to talk about that today. They've got to be the right people. 100 random people, right, who are not qualified in the least and just have a LinkedIn profile. That's all we know about them. That's not meaningful. It's got to be the right people. It's got to be the right audience. But done well, you should be seeing 100 new connections coming into your LinkedIn network on a monthly basis. That has typically been the extent of most LinkedIn training. It's like, get you a bunch of connections, and then, then just kind of figure it out from there. Yeah. No, it'll trail off from there. What happens next, nobody knows, right? Well, we're going to show you a framework here through which you can turn 10% of those connections into leads. Okay. A lead is somebody that has raised their hand and professed to you that they, in fact, have the problem that you solve. And we're going to do that in the form of workshop registrations. Now, don't worry about that for now, because that is one of the 4 pillars I'm going to show you over the next couple of days. For now, all I need you to know is that the goal is 10% of your connections raise their hand and become leads, right? And the specific form through which they become leads is they're going to register for a workshop that you're going to conduct. What is that about? How does it work? We're going to get there. Okay. So now on month 1, I have 100 new connections, 10 of them become leads. And then conservatively, out of those 10 leads, you should be able to convert at least half of them into a discovery call because they hop on your workshop. They like what they see. You got to deliver the goods there. Again, we're going to talk about that later. And half of them become discovery calls. And here's how the math adds up. In the first month, it's fairly modest, right? 100 connections, 10 leads, 5 opportunities. But then the thing I want you to see here is that there's a snowball effect. In month 2, you now have 200 connections. The 100 people that connected with you in month 1, they're not dead in month 2. I mean, let's hope not, right? Maybe 1 or 2 bite the dust, but by and large, those people are still alive and kicking and running businesses and having business problems that have not gone away. And in month 3, now there's 300 of them. And I'm stating the obvious here because what I found with clients is that people tend to forget what's already sitting there in their networks. They only focus on the people that have come in recently, my new connections, my new leads. What about the ones from a month ago and 2 months ago and 3 months ago? Chances are they're still alive. And chances are they haven't yet solved the problem that they're struggling with. Is there not opportunity there? So what I want you to see here, there's a snowball effect. By month 3, we're up to 300 connections. By month, relevant connections. By month 6, we're up to 600. And now over time, getting 10 opportunities per month, look how the math adds up, becomes easy because the pool of opportunity from which you are drawing from is continuously growing if you know how to extract opportunity from that pool, which is everything we're going to be talking about today and tomorrow. Marjorie says, this cold is really doing something for your radio voice in a good way or a bad way, Marjorie? I'm curious, right? Daniel's saying, how do you perceive the difference between connections and followers? So good question, Daniel. So followers are people that go to your profile and decide to follow you. They don't connect with you directly. And that's a perfectly fine thing to do. But the outreach method that we're going to teach you here today is to go out and connect with people so we can have a direct one-to-one direct messenger conversation with them. Okay. So at this stage, again, I appreciate that you don't understand how to do this. I just want you to understand the math because we made this promise to you, 10 B2B consulting opportunities per month. And I want you to understand how the math adds up. If we're bringing in 100 connections a month and 10% of them are becoming leads, okay, and then 50% of those leads become opportunities, do you see how over time, fairly quickly, you should be able to generate 10 opportunities per month like clockwork? Give me a yay in the comments, a yes if you can see it. Give me a no if you can't see it, because I want this to be really clear. Good. Friska says, I can't see it. Friska, jump into the Q&A or the chat and let me know what you can't see. I'm getting an overwhelming amount of yeses, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but tell me what's not clear to you. The math is fairly straightforward, but tell me what's not clear and I'll come back to it. Cool. This seems clear. All right. So let's get into the how. Let's get into the system now. Oh, the Q&A box. Sorry, I missed the Q&A box. Let me hit some of these questions. Tim's asking, is LinkedIn limiting the amount of relationship connections? I know it is 100 invites per month. It's 100 per week. So it's 400 per month. So the numbers I showed you above here, Tim, consider that. 400 per month at a 25% acceptance rate equals 100 new connections per month. Gerardo says, I have run several webinars. I find the conversion rate of 50% to discovery calls to be very high. It depends, Gerardo. So the way that we teach doing these workshops is very small and intimate. Okay. So the method that we teach our clients is you want like 5 to 10 really qualified prospects in the room. So it's very small. It's very intimate. Okay. For a workshop like today's, for example, where we have like, depending on the day, we're going to have anywhere from like 60 to 80 people in the room. I'm not going to convert half of you into a discovery call. I don't want to. That would be overwhelming. You saw my team's calendar. We can't even handle that kind of volume. Right. But if I had 5 or 10 of you in a room and it was just us and a very small intimate group, I can convert half of you. The intimacy creates a higher conversion rate. I'll show you how that works. Cool. David says that does not allow for the workshop numbers dropping off, and timing is such if the connections do become workshop leads in month 1, they may not in month 2, etc. So the way that we're going to craft a workshop hook, David, and we're going to get to this tomorrow, is we craft a hook such that when they register for the workshop, when they agree to attend the workshop, they are in a sense raising their hand and telling you that they in fact have the problem that you solve for, which is why this opportunity gets bigger over time, because 90 people out of 100 probably not going to respond to you or engage with your workshop topic in month 1, but those same 90 people may have that problem in month 3, may have that problem in month 4. What we can't control for is timing. We have no control over when the timing is right for the client to engage you, or when the problem that you solve for is important enough and urgent enough in the client's organization to do something about it. We can't control for that. But what we know is that for the right client, the right prospect, the right organization, eventually this is going to come up. So we build the network and we make offers to them and allow them to raise their hand when the time is right for them. Let me know if that's more clear, David. Cool. Brian, I'm going to come back to your question when we get to outreach. Good question. Okay. All right. So going to keep going here. I see Chris. Is it a paid or free workshop? Free. Brian's asking, did Pedro something help you structure this event? I don't know who that is. So no. All right. 4 pillars, folks, to the LinkedIn leverage system. Number 1, power profile. That is your LinkedIn profile. That is the most important asset that you have that's going to convert strangers and connections into discovery conversations and opportunities. Number 2 is magnetic outreach. This is how we get people to come into your network. This is how we get people to join your tribe. Okay, number 3 is disruptive insights. This is where you demonstrate that you are, in fact, the expert that you claim to be. And number 4 is opportunity engineering. This is where we pull out the real hot opportunity from your network and turn that into revenue. Okay, these are the 4 pillars of the system. Today, we're going to focus in on 1 and 2, and really 1, because 1 is actually the big driver here. We're going to focus on 1 and 2 today, and tomorrow we're going to focus on 3 and 4. Cool. All right. Let's start with the profile. Power profile. Power profile. So your LinkedIn profile is far and away the most important asset, your most important link, your most important, dare I say, marketing asset, right? Because all of you are here because we recognize, I think it goes without saying, but let's say it, we recognize that your prospects are on LinkedIn. They're not on your website. They're not reading your blog. Maybe they are, right? But my point is, where they're gathering is they're gathering on LinkedIn. That's why we're considering how to turn that into opportunity, how to leverage LinkedIn as a tool, as a platform. They're on LinkedIn. And the one asset that we have on LinkedIn that can turn an absolute stranger into somebody who's reasonably interested in your services and wants to have a conversation with you is your LinkedIn profile. It is your most important marketing asset. I can't tell you how often, because it happens pretty much daily. Clients come in, they reposition their profile. I didn't say rewrite for a reason. They reposition their profile. They finally start speaking in the buyer's terms. They use the language that the buyers use. They use the framework that I'm going to show you right now. And all of a sudden, they go from getting no inquiries to, oh, somebody reached out. They want to have a conversation. Oh, somebody's got a question about my services. Oh, somebody this, somebody that, right? All by changing this one asset. Now, there's a lot of strategy that goes into positioning your profile, which we're going to talk about now. Okay. But first of all, I want to reference the 7 keys. Remember, we said that marketing's job is to turn keys 1 to 4: awareness, understanding, relevance, and distinction. The profile hits keys 2, 3, and 4. It's going to clarify to people who you are, what you do, understanding. Is this for me? Is the question that they're asking when they read your profile. If it's not, they're not going to give it more than 3 seconds. Number 3 is relevance. Is it something I should be concerned about now? Is this something for me to take action on now? Or can I push this back? Can I kick the can forward? And then finally, number 4, distinction. What's unique about this person? What makes them stand out? What makes them different in the marketplace? Keys 2, 3, and 4 are what we're looking to hit with the power profile. Okay. So I'm going to show you now is 1, a framework for writing your LinkedIn profile that you can take and run with. And second, I will debrief my own personal profile in light of the framework and show you how it comes together. Okay. So here's the power profile framework. Number 1, there has to be a hook. The question that we are subconsciously asking ourselves anytime we see anything, a LinkedIn profile, a LinkedIn post, a billboard on the highway, okay, an ad on TV, an email, like any form of communication, we are all, because we're bombarded with communication, by the way, right? The average consumer is exposed to what? 3,000 to 5,000 advertising messages per day. That's not even counting personal communication. I mean, it's absurd how much we're exposed to. And so as a result, we develop these defense mechanisms. We have gatekeepers that are protecting us from unnecessary information that's going to cloud our minds. And one of those gatekeepers is this very simple question: is this for me? Is this something that I should be paying attention to? Is this something that is of concern to me? And if it is not immediately, painfully clear that this is for me, I don't have a spare second to waste on it. And this is where most people, their LinkedIn profiles die on the vine, because it starts with, well, Ahmed has 20 years of experience in the what? Who cares? It's not for me. Clearly, this guy only wants to talk about himself. Next, done. That's the first point. Is it for me? Second is a problem. Okay. A problem. There's got to be a clear problem statement. Okay. Your LinkedIn profile is not about you. I should have mentioned this right up front. Spoiler alert. Your LinkedIn profile is not about you. What, Ahmed? What are you talking about? It's my profile. It's my name. They want to know about me. No one cares about you. There may be some rants here today as well, folks. Nobody cares about you. I hate to be the one to tell you this. Actually, I love it. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about you. We care about ourselves. Your prospects care about themselves. Your prospects care about their problems. Your prospects care about their challenges. Your prospects care about their plight. And they only care about you to the extent that they think you can help them solve one of those problems. So stop talking about yourself and start talking about their problems. Give them a reason to care. That's a second element. Number 3 is outcomes. Okay, you're going to engage them so far. If you have a good hook, they know it's for them. You're clearly speaking to business problems that are of concern to them. But now the next question is, are you going to take me to where I want to go? Are the outcomes and the results that you can deliver for your clients, is it something that I'm interested in? Do we have a shared understanding of the future? Do we have a shared picture on what's possible? Can you compel me with a future state that is interesting to me? Outcomes. Too many consultants speak to inputs, and not enough consultants speak to outputs. Set yourself apart right away from the pack by speaking about outcomes and outputs. Next, we have mechanism. Okay, so I'll spare you the very technical marketing dissertation on this, and I'll keep it really simple. There are different layers or levels of market sophistication. In some markets, it is good enough to make a promise. You know, picture the weight loss market before anybody ever said, I can help you lose weight. The first person that said, oh, you know what, I can help you lose weight, got a bunch of clients, sold a bunch of products or a bunch of supplements. But after a while, that market became saturated. Another example would be, I can help you get clients. First person that said I can help you get clients got a bunch of business. But after a while, everybody said that. And that market became saturated. That promise fell on deaf ears. And every market gets to a point of sophistication where making claims and promises or speaking to outcomes is insufficient because nobody believes that they can deliver on those promises or those outcomes because they've heard it all before. And in those markets, it is essential that you have a mechanism that demonstrates how the outcome will be achieved. Okay, because in those markets, and this is probably true for all of you, very few markets are so unsaturated and unsophisticated that a very simple promise or claim is sufficient. Most markets today, again, because of the abundance of options that clients have, are sophisticated enough that they require a mechanism. They require you to explain, how are we going to get results? How are you going to help me deliver on these outcomes? This whole workshop, by the way, is a demonstration of that. We could have said to you, hey, we'll help you generate 10 B2B consulting opportunities per month. Come and work with us. And for some people, that's sufficient. But what I'm doing through LinkedIn Leverage, selling you a $50 workshop is not really my end game, by the way, right? It is a method through which I can demonstrate to you our specific proprietary mechanism for doing so. And in fact, I'm demonstrating about a sixth of our mechanism. We have 6 pillars. This LinkedIn approach is one of the pillars. But I'm showing you the mechanism so that you develop belief. And now you can see how what we have to offer and how we're going to help you is unlike anything else you've seen in the marketplace. And we want to call out that mechanism or an element of that mechanism in the profile. Okay. Mechanism is a broader topic. Point here is it's got to be reflected in the profile. Nobody believes anything until you show them proof. The market is highly skeptical. Every market is highly skeptical. How do I know it's going to work? We've got to have some proof on there. And then finally a call to action. What do you want me to do next? Hopefully you can already see how this is radically different from 99% of the LinkedIn profiles that you have seen, come across and read, and likely your own. This is what's going to set you apart if we nail the messaging. I'm going to show you my profile and I'll debrief it in the context of these sections now. First, I'm going to stop here real quick. Any questions about this framework before I show you the example? Does this make sense? I'm actually asking, does this make sense? Let me know in the chat. Okay, great. Awesome. All right, let's do a debrief. I'll show you mine. I'm going to pull that up. There was a fancy way I did this before. Let's see if I can do it today. No, I don't know that there is. Can y'all see my LinkedIn screen? Yeah, you see LinkedIn here, not the slides, right? Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right, so let's take a look. Let's close all this stuff. So first of all, the hook, right? Is this for me? The hook on a LinkedIn profile is communicated in 2 areas. One is your header image and 2 is your headline. Okay, header image and headline. So right away, and the headline, by the way, is a more important one because if somebody sees your profile elsewhere on LinkedIn, they're going to see it combined with your headline. But when they land on your profile, if they get there, they'll see the header image too. So the 2 work hand in hand. So you'll see here right away a very precise question. Want to fill your pipeline in 90 days. Really simple. I'm not trying to say a whole lot. All I'm trying to get is people to say, oh yeah, I do. It's like, you know what I mean? Like if your answer to that is no, yeah, move on. It's okay. No big deal, right? No harm, no foul. We don't need to be friends. You can go ahead and ignore me, right? But if your answer to that is yeah, probably should keep reading this profile. Now, can I help you? Should I help you? Are you a good fit? Well, I don't know any of that, right? But the simple question is Is this something that's on your mind? Is the prospect of filling your pipeline in 90 days something that you're remotely interested in? If so, probably should spend another 2 seconds reading this to see if we have what you need. Okay. Headline. Mine's very simple. I'm going to give you some formulas for this right after we're done the debrief. Mine's very simple. Founder of the 90-day pipeline. I'm including a mechanism here. By the way, just doing that implies authority. If I have a mechanism, a proprietary process through which I can help you achieve an outcome, you're much more likely to believe that I'm an expert. I got to prove that out still. It's not enough, right? But it immediately implies a level of authority and expertise, which is powerful. Founder of the 90-day pipeline. But for who? Is this for me, right? Is this for me? Is this for me? For B2B consultants and professional service providers. Very clear here about who it's for. It's not for anybody selling B2C. It's not for SaaS companies. It's not for people selling commoditized services. It's not for, skilled trades. It's not for any of those things. It's for this very specific audience, B2B consultants and professional service providers. People who are in those markets know that this is speaking to them. People who are not in those markets don't understand what these words mean, and they're not the market. Okay, that's the hook. Now we get into the profile. Okay, and then the section here that you want to be most concerned with is the about section. There's a bunch of stuff here in terms of your featured section and whatnot that's not unimportant, but the most important part of your profile is where you tell your story. For people who are intrigued by your hook and your headline and want to know more. Okay, let's do a quick read of mine and I'll debrief it for you. First of all, there are some problem and pain engaging questions right at the beginning. Now, you don't have to do this in the form of questions, but I love doing it in the form of questions. There's no better way to engage your prospect's pain than by asking some very pointed, direct, and candid questions. So I'm not mincing words here. I'm going for the jugular. Not sure where your next client's coming from. Tired of staring at an empty pipeline. And as a result, looking for a better way to win consulting deals. Now, I'm the quintessential marketer, and I'm always looking at different ways and better ways of articulating things. I read this now, and I'm like, it could be better. I probably add to this. Tired of selling your services for pennies on the dollar. Tired of being undercut on price by competitors who are not as good as you. Tired of clients shopping around between you and 3 other firms and having to get into a bidding war. Like, I already have better lines for this, to be honest. I could do a whole lot more here if I wanted to. But the point is, hard-hitting questions that speak to the prospect's pain. In this case, I think, to give myself some kudos, I'm speaking to a clear problem. Right? There's a lot of ways I could go here, but I'm speaking very directly to the problem of an empty pipeline. Don't know where your next client is coming from. Tired of staring at an empty pipeline. It's very clear. If pipeline is a concern for you, you are probably in the right place. Okay. Now here, I'm doing a little bit of positioning. Right? So I want you to understand that you're in the right place. I want you to understand that I'm a real expert who's been through this before, and I have a level of empathy with you that's going to command respect. Okay. So I say, I've been in your position myself a couple of times. First, when I left a huge consulting firm, Ernst & Young, I'm name dropping here, right? On purpose, because the reality is people take me more seriously when they know I came from a big firm, especially in the consulting space. They go, oh, you get it. You've done the big firm thing. You understand, you've achieved at a high level, you've worked at a certain level. People love that. So I name drop, use whatever assets you have to convey credibility and authority. So first, when I left a huge consulting firm, E&Y, to join a fledgling boutique that could barely afford to pay my salary, took them to 7 figures at lightning speed. Authority, 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 authority. And then second, when I launched my own consulting practice, thinking all I had to do was work my network and the deals would fall in my lap. I've been in your shoes. I've been exactly where you are. I know what it's like. Long story short, the network dried up fast and I struggled to pay the bills. My wife was thrilled about that. A little bit of humor goes a long way. Makes me human, right? Good news is a few years later, we are now a multiple 7-figure global consultancy with a team of 15 plus, should be 20 plus now, haven't updated that in a while. Okay. So in this short section, After engaging your pain, I've cemented my authority and given you multiple reasons to take what I'm about to say to you very seriously and to pay closer attention to me. Okay. And then I'm bringing it home with a series of problem statements. If you're a B2B consultant and you're tired of harassing your personal network for leads, sick of begging for referrals and introductions, and looking for a more predictable way to generate new consulting business, problem statements. I already have your attention pretty good by here, but now I want to make sure I really cement your attention. I want to make sure you really know you're in the right place. If this sounds like you're in the right place. But I'm not going to leave you hanging. I've got something that'll put an end to your misery once and for all. It's called power positioning mechanism. I have a mechanism. I have a fix, right? By the way, quick side note, there's something very powerful about naming a mechanism, naming a solution. If you go to the doctor's office and you have some pain or you've got some symptoms that you're struggling with, and the doctor says, "Oh, I have some medication that I think might help you," versus they say, "Oh, you need to take Zantac." I made that up. I hope that's not a real medication. When they name the medication, they name the mechanism. "Oh, you need to take Zantac." How much more specific and credible does that sound? It's not, "Oh, you need some medication, maybe it'll help you." It's, "Oh, you need this very specific medication." It has a name. It's solid. It's concrete. Same thing happens when you name your mechanism. So here I say, yeah, I've got a fix. I've got a mechanism. It's called power positioning. Here are the outcomes that you'll achieve. Right. And so when we're clear about problem statements and we're clear about outcomes here are never worry where your next client's going to come from, because you've got a pipeline full of leads waiting to do business with you. Be seen as a recognized leader in your market, charge premium fees, right? That tension that we create between problems and outcomes is the tension required for the buyer to take action. It's actually a really good point to step on here is there should be tension in your profile. Tension's got a bad rap. People think about tension in a negative way. Oh, you don't want tension. You don't want to create tension. Why would you want to give people tension? Because tension is the necessary lubrication for action. Okay. Tension is the necessary lubrication for action. If there's no tension, there is no action. If there is no tension, there is no purchase. You have to create tension. That's the goal of marketing. On this profile, yes, absolutely. But marketing at large, the goal is to create tension in the mind of your prospect such that they are compelled to act in a very simple way, whatever your call to action might be, book a call, pop on a workshop, etc., to relieve that tension. And ultimately, the tension is relieved by pulling the trigger and working with you. We're creating tension very deliberately here. Okay. But don't take my word for it. Here's what clients have to say. I mean, we could update this as well. These are good, but there's a lot more. But, you have a limited amount of time and space. And we also have client testimonials here, I believe, in the featured section. There's a whole host of them there. So proof, and then a call to action. Everything you need to know is right here, 90daypipeline.com. Grab a call with our team. Okay. So questions about this? Questions about the profile? Oh, I forgot. We have this graphic that really breaks down the profile into the side. This is my profile: hook, problems, mechanism and outcomes, and then proof. That is the framework. Obviously, you can see there's a whole lot of very powerful positioning and storytelling happening on this profile. That's where the magic is. It's not the words necessarily, right? It's not the specific copy, although that's important. It is the underlying positioning of you and your story and how that's relevant to the prospect. That's what's important here. Okay. Questions about the profile? Okay, Ricardo's asking, what if part of your mechanism is is a solution that you offer through a third-party service as a certified partner with them. That's fine. Include that in your mechanism. Perfectly fine. I prefer that's only part of your mechanism, which I can see that it is by virtue of your question, right? If that's the extent of your mechanism, you're probably a commodity, right? If that's part of your mechanism and there's more to it, then great. You'd probably want to focus on the stuff that's not with the certified partner, because that's going to be the stuff that really differentiates you from the competition and creates distinction. Mr. is asking, how do we make the right LinkedIn connections? We're doing that next. Stay tuned. David saying, some say that you need to keep changing your LinkedIn profile. Is that what you say as well? Not really. I mean, I don't think I've changed this in a couple of years. I mean, maybe a year, probably about a year. No, I mean, so what I would say is when you have a profile that's proven to convert, and the proof that it converts is that you have prospects reaching out to you saying, I looked at your profile, it sounds really interesting, I would love to talk. That's proof that it converts. Right? So when you start doing outreach, which we're going to talk about next, when you start doing outreach, if you don't have people that are saying to you on their own, hey, I saw your profile, it's really interesting, I'd love a chat, it's not working yet. So to that end, keep testing until it works, right? But when you're getting that kind of response from the market, it's working, don't touch it. You're like, don't fix what isn't broken, right? And Johnny's asking, as a new business, I get stuck at the outcomes and proof. What do you use when testimonials and outcomes are limited? So outcomes shouldn't be an issue. As a new business, you can still speak to outcomes because you can still speak to what's possible when people work with you, but your testimonials, your proof may not be able to speak to those outcomes. So, you know, with testimonials and proof, you want to start with whatever you have. Any form of social proof is better than no social proof. So early days when I didn't have any clients, I still had testimonials. Those testimonials were what people said about working with me in a corporate capacity. So I had testimonials from my direct reports, early days, who said, I work with Ahmed at XYZ Co. and I found his leadership to be yada, 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 and, you know, so on. I had testimonials from clients that I worked with at a larger firm. I was a client of Ahmed at yada, yada, yada. They weren't my personal consulting clients. They were my clients from a previous business, right? But I used that social proof as a starting point. And then when I got my first client testimonial, I added that in, and then another, and then another. So any form of social proof that you can come up with is better than no social proof. You start where you can. And then obviously when you have client testimonials, you want to add those in. Those are more powerful. Christian, how can we talk about outcomes if we were just starting with our consultancy? What does your consultancy achieve? Like, what do your services achieve? If clients engage your services, what outcomes and results can they expect? You should be able to define that, even if you're new, even if you haven't gotten those outcomes yet, because why work with you then? If it's not clear to me what outcomes can be achieved, and if you can't tell me what outcomes can be achieved if we take the right steps together, why would I work with you? You've got to be able to define that. Now, there's a process for that, but that needs to happen whether or not you have clients. Otherwise, why would they work with you? Others asking, where are you directing them to a CTA? At the bottom there. Curious to learn more? There's a link, and there's a workshop link there, I believe, and a link to schedule a conversation. Rajiv's asking, is it advisable to use my name as a consultant or use a combination of name or expertise or just company/domain? On LinkedIn, run all of your outreach and your marketing through your personal profile, not through a company page. So I'm going to answer that with regards to LinkedIn. You can have a company page. I have a company page, but the bulk of our focus is my personal profile because humans like to buy from humans. And there may be a point in time where you want to position your company page to do more heavy lifting. We certainly have done that at this stage, but in the beginning, everything was channeled through my personal profile. That's where we got the most traction. Okay, I got a few more questions here. All right, Anthony, how about when selling more than one product or service? Yeah. your LinkedIn profile has to be focused. So it's okay if you sell more than one product or service, but you've got to be able to direct people to one specific thing in the profile. So that could be like a concept or a mechanism that lends itself to multiple offers. That's okay, right? But if you have like multiple competing offers with very different messaging for each, you're gonna have to choose where to focus. You know, a big part of this entire game that we're playing here, not just in the profile, but with marketing at large, is being very clear and being very focused in our messaging. And it's hard to do that when we have too many offers. Now, one way that larger firms get around this, and many of them are our clients, is they have multiple experts, multiple profiles, multiple people in the firm that are focused on different offers. Right. And that's one way to do it. If you're smaller and you're solo, you probably should be focused on one offer anyways, right? Because the cost of diverting your attention across multiple offers is very high. Brian's asking, do you guys help with specific copy in the offer? Oh yeah, we comb through this thing with like a ridiculous amount of detail with you and nail it down. Ashfaq's asking, is there anything like profile fatigue, like ad fatigue? I mean, in the sense of like, if your profile reads like everybody else's in your market, yeah, it's not going to work, right? So distinction, remember, is one of the keys here. We have to term that distinction key. My profile, because a lot of it, most of it speaks to my story, is very unique to me. You know, not many people can write a profile like this, but not because I made up a good, you know, like some good lines, but because my story is genuinely unique. You're not going to find many digital marketing experts that have a bona fide B2B consulting background. Big firm, boutique firm, you're just not going to find them. That's why my positioning is so strong, because you're not going to find another bona fide B2B consultant with real consulting stripes who's also now an expert in digital marketing. Good luck. That's what makes our positioning so strong, and therefore this profile strong, because I'm leaning into my story and what makes me the best option in the marketplace, and nobody can replicate that. Debbie's saying, sometimes it seems like creating the vision of a compelling future works better than poking at the pain these days because people are looking to feel better. I've tried both. You're leading with the pain hook, but you soften it with tired of and looking for. Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting. It's an interesting point, Debbie. It really depends on the market and the prospect. So all things considered, and this is a bit of a tangent, but maybe a useful one for people. There's two kinds of buyers. Okay, you have hair on fire buyers, and you have burning desire buyers, and there's nobody in between. People only buy for one of two reasons. They have a ton of pain and urgency, hair on fire, and something needs to happen now. Or they have burning desire. They are very motivated, very driven by pursuing a set of outcomes. And there's nobody in between. If there's no burning desire and there's no hair on fire, there is no purchase. So when in doubt, go hair on fire. That's the easier, most trodden, proven path to creating messaging that speaks to your market. But there absolutely are markets, and our team's really good at helping you decipher which way to go, where burning desire is the better play. You're absolutely right. Irene says, how do I manage two companies that are in two separate industries? I understand you cannot have two profiles. I mean, it's against LinkedIn's terms of service to have two different profiles. People still do it. I'm not going to advise it because I'm never going to advise something that's against their LinkedIn terms of service. People do it all the time. The only other way around it is to have a face for the other company. So Irene, you become the face for one company, and then you have somebody else that's the face for the other company. That's the only other way around it, short of multiple LinkedIn profiles. Okay. Suzanne's asking, is it better when you have a power personal profile, or can I have it for my business brand name instead? I think I answered that, right? So much more powerful to run this for your personal profile. You should have a business page. I'm not opposed to that, but just know that 99% of the traction that you get on LinkedIn is going to happen from your personal profile, not only because of your profile, but because of the content and the insights you're going to be publishing from your profile, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. Amar's asking, have you ever had feedback about confusion in the naming between 90-day pipeline and boutique growth? Not really. No, the company's name is Boutique Growth. Our flagship offer is called 90-day pipeline. No, I haven't really had a lot of confusion. How does this look for a small firm, meaning self-promotion versus company promotion? Self-promotion, always, 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 especially in consulting and professional services, right? Remember, what clients are buying from you is intangible. They're buying expertise. They're buying expertise. People say, well, what about Ernst & Young? And what about PwC? And what about Deloitte? They sell their brand. They don't sell the individuals. And my response to that is, you know how Ernst & Young got their name? There's a guy called Ernst and there's a guy called Young. Okay. PricewaterhouseCoopers, Price, Waterhouse, and Cooper. Okay. Deloitte and Touche. These were personal brands before they were global consulting brands. Okay. KPMG, I don't know what it stands for. Those are people's names. They were personal brands before they were global consulting brands. You can't skip that because clients are ultimately buying your expertise. They're buying something very intangible. They're buying you. And if you hide behind a brand, they don't know what they're buying. They want you. They want your expertise. They want your story. They want your originality. That's what they want, not a firm. Now, you might get to the point where you can start promoting the firm. Sure. It's a long way down the road, probably, but you might get there. Up until then, promoting yourself and any other visible experts in your firm. If you're a larger firm, you might be on this call with a team of experts. We have lots of clients who fit that bill. It's not one person, it's 10 people. It's 5 people, it's 3 people. Whoever the visible experts are within the firm, they're the ones we want to promote. For a company in B2B lead generation marketing, do you think it's best to focus on one industry? Not best. I think it's necessary for your survival to be ultra laser specific on one industry. Yes. Cool. Any other questions about the profile or the related conversations about positioning before I move on? Okay, I got an exercise for you. So I want you to take 5 minutes here and I want you to rewrite your LinkedIn headline. Okay. And I'm going to give you 3 formulas. Make this super actionable for you. Okay. Give you 3 formulas to rewrite your LinkedIn headline. Now, I don't care about, you don't need to use this formula. You don't need to stick to it. You can, by all means, depart from the formula. But these are 3 proven formulas that will get your profile into your headline, rather, into a format that just frankly converts. And it's going to spark a level of thinking that will do you really, really well. So I'm going to show you the 3 formulas and I want you to spend, we'll probably put 3 to 5 minutes on the clock here. I want you to actually write this, put it into the chat, and I will give you feedback. And other folks here may give you feedback as well, which will be great. Sound good? Okay. 3 formulas. So these are all basically follow the following formula. I help X do Y without pain, X being audience, Y being outcome, and all of the above. I help audience achieve an outcome without suffering through some pain. Very powerful formula. So you want to think about who's the audience, what outcome are they going to achieve, right? Those are 2 pillars here. And then in the first formula, you want to think about the pain that they want to avoid in achieving the outcome. So the example here is, I think this is an actual client example, if I'm not mistaken. I help engineering firms, audience, drive 30 to 50% win rates, outcome. Notice how solid and tangible that outcome. It's not win more deals. That's vague. That's generic. That's not that believable. This is specific. Specificity is powerful. Drive 30 to 50% win rates without what do engineering firms, in this case, want to avoid doing in achieving that outcome? Spending more time on proposals. They don't want, we could probably do better than that without slaving away on proposals. We could use better language if we wanted to. That's a really good headline. We could do the same thing, example 2, by saying, I help audience achieve outcome while gain. Okay, this is while continuing to do the thing that we want to continue to do, while continuing to have the experience that we want to have to experience. So it can be the very exact opposite. And this comes back to the earlier question, what if they're more motivated by gain than pain? Then we simply do the inverse. And that would be here, I help engineering firms drive 30 to 50% win rates while spending less time on proposals. There's other ways I could go here. I could say, while maintaining their margins. I want to win more deals while continuing to maintain healthy profit margins. That could work really well. Third example is I help audience achieve outcome, even if constrained. So you want to think about what are the constraints, what are the excuses that clients have when it comes to achieving the outcome that they want to achieve. So here is an example. I help engineering firms drive 30 to 50% win rates, even if they're completely unknown in the market. Because an engineering firm might say, well, I would love to win 30, 50% of the deals that I propose on, but we're an unknown entity. We don't have a big brand. You tackle that constraint, even if they're completely unknown in the market, right? Think about the excuses that your clients have that are preventing them from getting results and target those with a constraint. So let's take a minute or two. I already see some people hopping in, so I will start giving feedback on those right now for the next, I'd say 3 minutes. Drop a headline in the chat and I will give you some feedback here live on the call. And if you have feedback on what you see, feel free to comment on it. All right. And follow along in the chat here. Some of you have shared this just with me. If you could share your headline with everybody so that as I read through them, that you can follow along. Christos says, I help IT managers and business computer users ensure their systems never crash, even during blackouts, with quality UPS and maintenance, preventing loss of revenue, guaranteeing peace of mind. I mean, what I like about this, Christos, is I think you should focus more on IT managers. I think that's where the pain is going to be stronger. If the pain of systems crashing is a pain that is top of mind for them during blackouts, especially, then I think that's hitting the right nerve. I think you could turn loss of revenue into a without statement. It could be without loss of revenue. Like, I wonder here, Christos, and maybe let me know in the chat and we'll come back to it. I wonder, a lot of your competitors probably make a similar claim. What frustrates, this is a good question to ask everybody. What frustrates your customers about the existing options available to them in the marketplace? Like, what about the existing options are insufficient or just not hitting the mark for your customer? And how can you apply that into a headline? How can you speak to that gap in the market in your headline? Paul's saying, I help technology CEOs grow their brand and build company value while getting more out of their marketing budget. Pretty good. Pretty good. I think you could be a little more specific here and use some better language, Paul. And again, I don't know the details of your offer, so I'm going to take some liberties, right? I help technology CEOs become brand ambassadors for their firm so their marketing team can earn a higher ROI. I turn technology CEOs into brand ambassadors so they can double their marketing ROI. That's potentially some more powerful and compelling language, but I like the thrust of where you're going with that, though. Marjorie saying, I help mission-based businesses expand their reach and grow their revenue while still maintaining their integrity and authenticity. So mission-based businesses, it's a little too generic for me. I think you would be well served with a more specific articulation of the target market. That could be broad. And I don't know how many businesses will see themselves in that title. Some will, for sure, but will enough is the question, right? Expand their reach and grow their revenue. Kind of generic, like everybody will want some version of that, but it lacks a certain level of specificity. That's where I would strengthen this. I get what you're saying, expand their reach and grow the revenue while maintaining integrity and authenticity, like, because they're mission based, right? So they want to be about the work and not about necessarily growth. So I think you've got a good angle here. I think the language could be a little bit better, but you're on the right track. David says, I help highly technical businesses explain their products to their prospects while still protecting their IP. Good. I wonder what you mean by highly technical businesses. Can that be turned into a more specific audience? I think it'll be far more powerful if the audience is more specific, but otherwise pretty good. Jason, I help Fortune 1000 companies build an identity and access management program while increasing their security. Okay, good one here. So when you're dealing with big companies, Fortune 100, Fortune 500, whatever it may be, it's far more powerful to call out the buyer persona. I help Fortune 100, Fortune 1000, CIOs, Fortune 1000 technology departments, because big companies have so many different departments and personas inside them that if you speak to Fortune 1000, it's too broad, too generic. Who specifically within that company do you want to be speaking to? Call them out in your headline. Subaru says, I help biotech companies with product growth strategies to maximize commercial potential. So the problem with this one, Subaru, is product growth strategies to maximize commercial potential is you're going to have people that read this headline and go, well, that's my job. That's the CEO, the director of growth, or whoever. That's the entire business exists to maximize commercial potential. So we need probably a more specific proposition here that speaks to challenges. And maybe it's fine for the headline, but I can tell you right now that in the profile, we'll need a more specific articulation of problem statements and outcomes and a mechanism that helps them see that you're not going to go in and do their job, but rather complement them. All right. It is abundantly clear here, folks. I'm not going to be able to answer all of these. But I appreciate you. I appreciate you dropping them in here. I'll do a couple of more, and then we're going to move on to outreach. Gerardo, I help SaaS companies improve 25% more customer acquisition without increasing their advertising spend. Pretty good. Even better if you can spell out the size of the company, because SaaS is big. All right. So I would love it if you could say, I help SaaS companies between X and Y MRR or ARR do the following, because it's a big market, and getting specific about the segment that you serve is going to be powerful. Anastasia says, I help fast growing tech businesses build pixel perfect and scalable front ends in half the time. Pretty good. Do they know what a front end is? Cool. Yeah, again, it's a long list, folks, so I'm going to have to move on here, but appreciate you taking the time to do that. Hopefully that got you some clarity already on your proposition. And, again, this is something that if you decide to jump into the 90-day pipeline, that we go through a painstaking level of detail in not only the headline, but the profile and all the elements of it that stack up your story and really position you in a league of your own. So hopefully that was useful to you. We're going to move on here, and we're going to talk about outreach. So we spent the vast majority of our time today talking about the profile, and we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about outreach. And then tomorrow we have an entire session dedicated to disruptive insights and to opportunity engineering. And you might look at this and say, well, how come you spent so little time talking about outreach here? I mean, isn't that a big part of this exercise? And the truth is, it used to be a big part of this exercise. It used to be the extent of this exercise. Back when LinkedIn would allow you to send 2,000 connection requests per month, you could just blow out your outreach, do a ton of volume, and it wouldn't be that hard to get great results. Today, out of the 4 pillars, outreach is, I'm not going to say the least important, because it's absolutely important and every element of the system is important, but it's the most straightforward. The power profile has a lot going on, which we obviously saw here. Tomorrow, disruptive insights, opportunity engineering, there's a lot of pieces there to dial in, right? There's a lot of things there to consider. Outreach is simple. It's straightforward in the new LinkedIn era. Okay. Want to get really clear with you about a couple of things here when it comes to outreach. One is, that's coming up. So here's how I want you to think about outreach. Imagine you could go into 2 networking events. Okay, you have a choice between the 2. One is you can go to not really a networking event, but a massive conference where there's all kinds of people there. Okay, there's, whatever, thousands of people. It's a huge industry event, conference. People from all over the world are coming here, tons and tons of potential contacts, but also everyone's not entirely qualified. Right? There might be some good quality people there. There might be some other vendors there. There might be some people that are lower level there. It's a mixed bag, right? That's one option. And the second option is you can go to a networking event that is highly targeted, highly specific, where, there might only be 100 people in the room, but those 100 people are specifically the people that you want to be talking to. Which event would you rather be at? The first or the second? Hopefully self-evident, right? LinkedIn used to be the first event. People were doing tons of outreach, building massive, I can't tell you how often we've heard this. People come to us and go, I have so many LinkedIn connections, so many. But it's so big and it's so broad that event, so to speak, is basically useless because it's impossible to know who to go after, who to focus on, where to extract value. And what it's become now, thanks to LinkedIn, by the way, we were very happy when LinkedIn slapped those constraints on the amount of outreach you could do, because it bolstered the methods that we already knew were working well and took the spammers out of the game. And now you have an opportunity to build an audience that is highly curated, that is highly specific. It's not about the volume game anymore. Get thousands of people in the room with you. It's about getting the few people in the room with you who can make the decision to work with you. Your people, your very specific target market. Okay, that's the game that we're playing with outreach now. The goal of outreach is not to win the deal. Okay, outreach will not win the deal. And hopefully the 7 keys framework showed you that. Right? The spammers would like you to believe that all you need to do is reach out to somebody on LinkedIn and that will somehow win you the deal. The reality of it is very different. And if you have half a brain, which all of you do, that's the case. Outreach will not win you the deal. It will not, in many cases, book you the meeting. Sometimes it will. It's good to go in with the expectation that outreach will not book you the meeting because strangers don't do business. Rather, strangers don't. Here's where I mess up my words. It's the fatigue setting in. Busy decision makers don't talk to strangers unless there's a good reason to do so. An outreach message, a LinkedIn connection request is not a good reason to talk to you. It's an introduction, right? It's a first touch. It's not sufficient to book a meeting. Okay. And outreach also does not establish trust and authority. All outreach does, and this is why it's simple. This is why we're not going to spend a ton of time on it. All outreach does is it builds the room. So we have 100, refer to the math that we did earlier. We have 100 reasonably well qualified prospects coming into our network every single month. That is, we're adding 100 folks into the room. We're constructing our very own exclusive, highly curated, private networking event. We're deciding who do we want to be in the room with, and we're being extremely selective about who those people are. That is the goal of outreach. It's to build the room. Does that make sense? Now, you're wondering, what are we going to do with them when they're in the room? Great question. That's pillars 3 and 4, disruptive insights and opportunity engineering. At this stage, what I want you to understand is that the goal of outreach is not, the reason why I'm hammering this home for you folks is because people used to believe that outreach equals marketing. Just doing a bunch of LinkedIn reach is a sufficient marketing strategy, and it's just fundamentally not true. Outreach has a role in marketing. Guess what that role is? It's right up here. Awareness and relevance, but first awareness. If we don't do outreach, they're not going to know who you are. Okay, that's how we unlock that first bottleneck, is by outreach. But on its own, it's not going to do a whole lot for you. It's got to be combined with the other pillars of the system. It does its job. But that is specifically to build the room. You're populating your networking event. Now, to do that, we want to make sure we have the right people in the room. Okay, so you want to be looking at things like company demographics. This whole conversation that we had earlier about target market, being very specific and very precise, is so important now, right? Small businesses is not a target market. Okay. Businesses between 11 and 20 employees, not a target market. We got to get really specific about company demographics, industry, company size, geography. We got to get really specific about buyer persona, more important for larger organizations. So for the person that was targeting Fortune 1000, for example, that's not really a target market either. Director of marketing at Fortune 1000, that's a target market. Who are the decision makers? Who are the users, right? And then I don't know, we're going to have time now because we got 7 minutes left, but there's other data that we have available to us in Sales Navigator. So first of all, if you don't have Sales Navigator, that's a necessary tool you're going to want to invest in, because Sales Navigator, I'll show you quickly, I have it pulled up, affords you the opportunity to select and segment very specifically. So when we talk about company demographics, you can see Sales Navigator on my screen. Quick check there. Yeah, cool. So company demographics, we can put in geography. Okay. We can put in company size over here. Headcount is a proxy for company size, right? We can put in company type. We can put in industry over here, right? And then buyer persona, we can put in keywords is one way to do it. More accurate way to do it is function title. You can add to that years and current position. If you want people that are more junior in a particular role, more senior in a role, you can do that here. Okay. And there's some other interesting data here too that we don't have the time to get into in detail. Things like groups. Groups are important affiliations that you can leverage for targeting. Things like posted content keywords. What are your prospects posting about? Are they using certain keywords in their content, right? Things like that. The point is, apart from the wizardry of Sales Navigator, is get very specific. Because again, you only have 400 connection requests to send now. You cannot be willy-nilly and indiscriminate in your outreach. You only have so many that you can send. Every connection counts. Be very, very ultra specific about who you're going after. Tailor your profile to those people, right? And that's how you're going to get 25, 30%. Some of our clients get 40, 50% acceptance rates. It's not magic. It's very specific targeting and very good messaging, speaking to that market. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, questions about this? Let me see if there's any other. Oh, here's a kind of a bonus training. Let me give you the link here. So there's a case study. I'm not going to go through it here in the interest of time. There's a case study of how one of our clients at BLAT booked 89 calls in 2 weeks, which is just a ridiculous number, but it's 100% true. I'm going to drop the link to this in the chat here. Go ahead and grab that. That'll give you a little bit more of a tactical look at what you can do. It's not the be all and the end all of the strategy, but it's one very specific case study. And I think more than anything else, what it illustrates is if you work with us inside the 90-day pipeline, we're not really interested in building out a generic off-the-shelf solution to engage your market. So actually in this case study, you will see an example of not an example, you will see the actual coaching call where Ed worked with one of our coaches to develop the strategy that led to 89 calls booked in 2 weeks. It's super specific, targeted to his market, tailored to his market and to his business and to his offer. And, that's the thing that I think I really want you to take away is there's no silver bullet, right? There's no like generic solutions to generic problems here. Generic solutions will die on the vine. What works on LinkedIn with regards to outreach and overall is very specific, very, very specific strategies that are tailored to your market and how your market operates and how your decision makers behave and think and what your offer is. And so the case study with Ed is a good example of that. Take a look at it, probably spark some ideas for you. Otherwise, let's open this up and take some Q&A in just a second. Here's what we covered today, folks. Power profile and magnetic outreach. Okay. There's two very, very big and very, very important pillars left to cover. That is disruptive insights and opportunity engineering. These are about what do we do now that we have people in the room. Outreach has built the room for us. And the power profile has positioned your authority. Now that we have the room full of people and they know who you are and they get what you do, how do we turn those into real opportunities? And that's achieved through disruptive insights and opportunity engineering. But quick reminder before I take a couple of last questions, if you want to grab a call with our team to see if we can help you with this. And again, we have that special offer, right? Whereby we will guarantee that you will generate 10 B2B consulting opportunities in your work with us through the 90-day pipeline. If you want to see if you qualify for that offer is good till October 31st. And last I checked, we only have a couple of more spots on the calendar between now and then. Yeah, there's a few spots on Friday, a couple tomorrow. So if you're interested in working with us to get all this dialed in with you and for you, and if you have questions about that right now, by the way, I can take some time and answer them. Go ahead and grab a call with our team using the link I just dropped in the chat, and they can help you determine if this is a good fit for you and if we can help you. Cool. With that, we're up on time, but I'm going to take another 5-10 minutes here and make sure that I answer any remaining questions that exist, either about the content today, about our program, 90-day pipeline, whatever's on your mind. I'm going to take another 5-10 minutes here, and I'm going to make sure you guys get what you need. How's that sound? Okay, Joshua is saying, I'm concerned that my value proposition, which is telling deeper stories through resolving internal stories, is not a typical consulting value prop and may not fit the system the same as more businessy technical consulting skills do. I wouldn't be concerned about that. I mean, if you're talking about, yeah, I mean, my main concern is selling B2B, right? And by virtue of your offer, it seems that you are selling B2B. I get what you're saying. It's not a technical competency. It's not something that's very like technical or what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like a software, right? It's very intangible. So I get what you're saying. At the end of the day, people are going to hire you because they see how your expertise connects to the business problems that they're facing and the outcomes that they want. And because they see you as a bona fide expert in that specific area. And so there's no reason why it can't work. You've got to get really good at articulating outcomes. That's the thing. The more intangible your offer is, Joshua, and this probably applies to a number of you, the more intangible your offer is, the more important it is for you to get good at articulating outcomes and articulating your mechanism. A mechanism is a way of turning something that is otherwise intangible into tangible, right? This is why I don't tell people we'll help you generate leads. I say, we have an offer, a program called the 90-day pipeline. Here's how it works. The more tangible we make the offer, right, the more real it becomes for the client. And this is so much more important when you have an offer that is by its nature intangible. Does that make sense, Joshua? I don't know if that's clear. Probably could say more about that, but yeah. When I describe the mechanism, I feel like people are going to be scratching their heads. You're absolutely right. Gone wrong, that could happen, right? So the art of crafting mechanisms is doing it in language that the customer will understand. So you're not wrong. That is a very real risk that we have to be aware of. That's why we want to craft everything in the customer's language. And, we have processes to help you do that, but you're not wrong in your concern. That is a very important concern. One that's definitely overcomable though. Vic says, I may have understood yesterday, but I think you said that you work with someone that offers between $100,000, $500,000, our average price between $5,000 to $30,000. Yeah, no, generally we like to work with clients that are charging 10K plus. 5K would be like on the very low end, Vic, and it's perfectly fine. The more important criteria for you is 3 to 5 clients a month sufficient for you? If 3 to 5 clients per month is sufficient for you, we're absolutely a good fit to work together. What I can't do via the 90-day pipeline is help you generate 10, 20 clients a month, right? That's a whole other solution. I mean, we do that, right? But that's a far more advanced and sophisticated solution. 90-day pipeline is for the folks that are going to be satisfied and, satiated, so to speak, with 3 to 5 clients a month, B2B clients a month. And if that's you, it's definitely a good fit. Cool. Anastasia's asking, how important is it to have a website that aligns to your LinkedIn profile? It's important, but it's not urgent, right? So when you're getting started, focus on LinkedIn. That's where the conversations happen. That's where new relationships are sparked, right? That's where the magic is. Once that is all running and it's well oiled and it's working for you, absolutely going through a kind of a cosmetic exercise of updating your website's messaging to reflect what's happening on LinkedIn is a good idea. And there's simple ways to do that that shouldn't be too time intensive for you. But I absolutely would not spend any amount of time now on the website when that's not where people are hanging out. Ashfaq, if I have doubts with my offer, should I fix this before enrolling? My current offer is 3 to 6K. No, because we're going to build out the offer with you. So if you have doubts about your offer, that's the very first thing that we work on. In the first 2 weeks of 90-day pipeline, we dial in target market, client clarity, power positioning, and the results mechanism or the offer. So if you have doubts about your offer, the problem is if you don't work with us now, you might not ever overcome those doubts, or you might finalize an offer that has flaws in it. And we don't want that for you. So we'd rather you work with us now so we can dial in the offer together. And we have playbooks for that are pretty solid. And then we build everything on a solid foundation. So, but grab a call with the team and they can speak to you in more detail about that. Cool. Let's see what else we have here. Gerardo, it is hard though, he says, to dial it in so much detail. I'm not sure about others, but I have clients in different verticals and different sizes. My biggest challenge is creating a very specific buyer persona. We are a digital marketing agency. So Gerardo, the thing is, like, you don't have to craft a position that speaks to everybody that you currently serve. Right? Let's say, for example, I'm just going to use this as an example, Gerardo. Let's say you work in 3 different markets, right? Let's say it's real estate, and let's say it's SaaS, and let's say it's IT services. I'm just making that up. Okay. Well, I'm not saying go and fire the clients that are in the markets that you don't want to serve anymore. But what I am saying is build out a very specific position for the clients that you want. So if from those 3 markets you say, well, the IT services ones are better clients, they pay more, they're easier to work with, we like those deals, then craft a very specific profile and proposition for those clients and go all in. And you can still service the other clients in the other markets, right? There's a difference between the business that you have and the business that you want. When we talk about positioning, we're talking about going after the business that you want, but that doesn't mean that you do away with the business that you have. use them to pay your bills, right? But we want to start getting your business to form in the direction of the clients that you want. Let me know if that makes sense. All right, Brian, I got you. I'm currently running an offer into a specific industry, and the audience is crazy specific. There are about 5 to 6K companies on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Would you consider that too narrow? No, I wouldn't consider that crazy specific either. I think that's the sweet spot. Good rule of thumb is your audience on Sales Navigator in terms of companies, not individuals. Companies, anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 is a good range. I think you're right where you want to be. I don't think you're too narrow at all. I think you're right in the sweet spot. All right. I'll take 1 or 2 more. Irene says, I'm a specialist in 2 areas, entertainment and franchise consultant. Do you have a program that will help me sort out my focus? Yeah, it's called 90-Day Pipeline. If there's anything 90-Day Pipeline does, is it gets you ridiculously focused in a short amount of time. You know, and nothing's forever, right? Like I understand that people have different areas of expertise, as do I, by the way. Like, you know, you're seeing one very specific version of me here on this training in my business. And you're not seeing a whole lot else, right? And I've chosen to focus in a very specific area because it makes sense. It's lucrative. I built a business around it, but it's not the extent of who I am as an individual or what I can do, right? So I'm not saying, you know, to shed yourself of the other pieces of your identity that don't serve your business interests. What I am saying is focus on the things that are going to drive the outcomes that you want here and now, and nothing's forever. Maybe you'll end up building one side of your business, Irene, and end up selling that to somebody else so you can focus elsewhere, or find somebody else to run it day to day so you can focus elsewhere, right? It's a very common problem for very creative people to have is we have, you know, I consider myself in that group. We have varied interests and it's hard to focus. At the end of the day, focus is a business imperative. We have to find a way to focus, but it's not forever. Doesn't mean that we can never go back to those other interests, those other businesses, other ideas. It's just a matter of focusing now to drive certain outcomes. But I get it. Decisions, right? It's tough. Ashfaq, I worked as an accountant previously. What made you make the shift? What was the aha moment that made you shift to marketing? I think for me, accounting was just not the right use of my skills. I actually enjoyed it, to be honest. I think there's a certain truth to numbers, right? Numbers don't lie, as they say. There's certain truth to numbers that I find a lot of gratification in. But it wasn't the highest and best use of my skills and experience. And I didn't know that I wanted to go into marketing. It was only when I left accounting and I went into a more general business management role at a small firm. I did a little bit of everything, including accounting, finance, operations, project management, and marketing and business development. That's why I started to discover an interest in an aptitude for marketing. And it was over time that I kind of developed that expertise. Cool. All right. Have I missed anything, folks? Is there anything else here you guys want me to speak to before we hop off for the day? Yeah, Suzanne, if you did not get the link to yesterday's session because you purchased afterwards, drop an email into team@boutiquegrowth.com and they can help you get that sorted out. Cool. All right, folks, appreciate you all hopping on and asking some very good questions here today. It was great spending some time with you here. We're going to be back on tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern, same time, same link for the final session. We're going to cover the last 2 pillars of LinkedIn leverage. Again, reminder, if you want to grab a call with our team and avail yourself of that special guarantee offer that I spoke to earlier, go ahead and do that using the link that I shared in the chat. And we're happy to have the chat with you. All right, signing off for now. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one.